Okay, tonight we're going to be doing a learning stick for carving the nose. And basically we're going to use one of these square sticks and just kind of work our way up and do it step by step. Being an engineer, I like to set up a process for doing my facial features. It takes a lot of the pressure away and going, how am I going to do this? And if you do it repeatedly, then you can develop that muscle memory that really helps you get into your face and not worry about it so much and be concerned. So this is going to be talking about doing a nose. We're going to do a kind of a 6-step process. The way we're going to start is we're just using this rectangular blank, and the nice thing about that is that it's kind of got the shape of the nose and the front of the face going when we start. So it gives us a good triangular 90-degree approach here that we can shape the nose to start. So we're going to define first where the brow of the nose is going to go, and then we're going to define the base of the nose. We're going to then come in here and define the width that we want for the nose. Now, I tend to use Jack Ham as a reference. Jack has a great book that's out there that's a reference on carving facial features. He gets into carving wrinkles in clothing, sizing the whole human figure. The way you set this up first is you're going to look at your face, and your face is going to be 5 eyes wide. That'll define the width of your eye. Then you can define that there's going to be one eye between each of the eyes, so that gives you 3, and then 1 on each side is 5. But the nose itself is basically 1 eye wide. So once we've got the cut for the nose, we can say this is how wide we want our eye to be based on our facial features. That's going to define the width of our nose. We can then go in and cut up a couple of gouge cuts into what is the eye trough up here, and that's going to help us develop the depth of that inside eye so that we get a roundness going from the outside to the inside. We won't start at the bottom of the nose. We're going to start up here some distance away so that leaves us material here that we can define and cut in the wings of the nose. Once we get that all put in, we will shape the bottom of the nose a little bit. Typically, I don't leave them flat. I put a bit of an angle on there. But by cutting this in before we get the wings cut, it gives us an idea how much material we have left. And we want this piece of cartilage right here at the bottom of the nose called the septum, S-E-P-T-U-M, to be visible when we look at the nose from the side. So you look at any of your neighbors or look at yourself in the mirror, and if you can see from the side, you're going to see this centerpiece of cartilage, whether your nose is flat, whether it's up like this, whether it's up like this with a youth or a female, you still see this little break in the cartilage right there. So we want to leave that defined. We'll then come in, at that point we're going to have a pretty bird beak of a shape on our nose. We're going to knock that tip off, round that over a little bit, and start defining the nostrils. We'll then come in and set the wings. We'll then relieve some material behind the wings and set in the smile line. The smile line being the one that starts here at the top of the wings, goes to the outside of the nose, comes down, and is headed toward the outside corner of your mouth on both sides. So at that point we should have a pretty good nose. So let's go ahead and start. First thing we're going to do is define where we want the brow of the nose to be and where we want the base of the nose. Now, typically the length of your nose is going to be about 1.5 times what the eye is. That's just a rough rule of thumb. You know, that may be great for an actress or somebody like that, but most of us have noses that don't quite fit that. Don't worry about it. Caricatures have noses that truly do not fit that pattern. So make it like you want. But if you want it to be halfway realistic, about 1.5 times the width of the eye is going to be what you want. So this is one we did before. This is where we're going to try to end up tonight. But we're going to start at the opposite end of the block so that you can see the steps. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to define where we want the brow of the nose to be. And then we're just going to come down here and we're going to arbitrarily mark where we want the base of the nose. Now we're going to make it a little bit longer to start with than it may end up, and that's fine because we can always take that away. So first thing we're going to do is let's go ahead and cut this in. We're going to make this a bit of a V channel, and the reason being is that later on when we combine this with the set of eyes to make our face, that channel is going to define where the eyes go. So I'm going to set that out there a little bit wider than needed for the nose, but someday that will accept a couple of eyes. So we're just using our knife to take away that wood. Not too concerned about the angle at this point, other than something around 90 to 110. We'll probably have to open this up a little bit more. Right now that's pretty steep. That's too steep for what I want my eye channel to be, and I'll open that up. But right now that's a good start. So that's saying that's where the brow of my nose is going to be. Like I said, make it wider than you need so that you've got some room in there where the eyes will go. I'm going to head and knock this corner off too, because that's going to be forehead or upper part of your brow in there. It's not going to be a sharp angle. It's going to be kind of rounded part of your head. So we're knocking that corner off to give a little more shape there. Let's make that a little bit deeper. Right now we don't know how deep we're going to have to go to get the shape on the nose that we want, but we're going to set it in there a pretty good distance so that we can get a good slope, good profile on the nose. So setting in that upper channel, just carving. And what that's doing is going to define where the brow of the nose is going to go. That's defining this area right here. All right, we got that. Let's go ahead and start cutting in the base of the nose. For right now, we're just going to go straight in and then take the wood off down below. Down below is where, if I were doing a wood spirit or an individual with a mustache, that's where that part of the face would be carved. So we've got to relieve this back into the face right now. Now let's take a little bit of this wood off down below the nose just to give ourselves a little bit of room to work with. It's not, you know, the bottom of the face below the nose is not going to be that pointed like on this stick. But what the stick does do is your face is basically a 90-degree angle when you measure in this way. So that's 90 degrees. So this gives us the slope back on both cheeks coming away from the nose. A lot of times that's hard to develop when you start off with just a piece of flat wood. It's hard to get the roundness to the face, but you got to go from the nose back here and try to develop that 90-degree angle. When I do it on a stick, it comes much easier. But we're going to recess that back in there a pretty good distance. So that we've got something that looks like that at this point. Not exactly a good looking nose. Looks like they ran into a wall at this point. But we've defined where the brow of the nose is going to go, and we've defined where the base of the nose is. All right, so let's go ahead and give a profile to this guy. So we're going to go from the tip of the nose to the brow, and we're just going to cut that back. In this case, we're just going to use a straight line cut. A lot of times, depending if you were doing Native American or different ethnic groups, look at the profile of their noses, and you may want to go with a two-slope nose, or maybe on your caricature you want a different profile, but whatever works for the one that you were doing. But what you got to do is try to develop some kind of profile from the side. So you want this to go from here back to the brow. Now, this can be made deeper. I can cut that deeper if I want that to be less of a slope. It's better to go a little bit too deep up here to start with than not deep enough, because you can always deepen it, and if it's too deep, then I just take a little bit off of the front profile right here, and then that lowers the slope. So we got that profile, we've got it flattened off so that we've got kind of a triangular shape up there on top. So what we're going to do now is we're going to define where the wings are going to go. And the reason I do that is, like I said, I want to leave enough material down here so that I've got some healthy wings. Wings being the part of your nostril and where the bottom of your nose. Question is, we talked about how wide are we going to make the eye, or make the nose, and we're going to make the nose roughly one eye wide. So this is our learning stick. We don't know how wide the eye is going to be, but we're going to define that an eye is going to be, that's a pretty big eye. We may make it smaller later, but so this is the width of an eye. If I were doing this as a face, it would be one eye out here, one eye width here, and then another one here and here. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 eyes wide as I go across. One eye in the middle between the two eyes will pretty much define how wide the nose is going to be down here. Now we said the nose is 1.5 eyes wide. Well, this nose is going to be way long compared to 1.5 times that. Really, it's going to be that big. So given the length of my nose, I'm going to make those eyes wider this time, so that we've got a big, healthy nose to work with. Like I said, if you're doing a real caricature face, you're going to have to kind of size this out as you go. But that's going to be basically the width of our nose. The other thing is, when you're carving, if you're carving on a flat and trying to do the nose, and you got to push it back, once you get this shape, you got to make that nose into a triangular shape. Otherwise, it's going to be too blunt. So we want to end up with a kind of a triangular shape on our nose right here. So we want this triangular shape. That's good. So we defined the width of the nose. So now we got to push the cheek back some, so that the nose sticks out. The nose sticks out, and then it flares back into the cheek. So we have to get some depth right in here. The way we're going to do that is take a gouge and run up the side of the nose. The other thing to keep in mind is that your nose does not stick entirely off your face. The nose is about half off the face and half on the face. If you look from the lips to the tip of your nose, that's about half your nose. Then if you go from your lips to the back of the wings, that's the other half. So even if my mustache clouds some of the issue, from my lips to the tip of my nose is about half of it. But from here to the back of my wing is the other half of my nose. This is the wing of the nose that we're going to be cutting in. So it's half on my face, half off my face. If you want a bizarre creation, make one with the nose completely off the face. That works pretty good for witches and some other bizarre caricatures. You can do what you want there. Can't go wrong. But for most human caricatures, you're going to want it half on, half off. All right, that being said, we're going to push back these cheeks. We're going to start out here at about, and head toward that eye socket at about a 20-degree angle. So I'm just going to go up here. I'm going to go up, and as I go into that nose, at the brow, at the eye socket, I'm going to lift my gouge and basically turn it and hollow out the cavity. So I started out here above the wing. I didn't go clear down to the base. I started above the wing, went up at about a 20-degree angle, went into that eye socket, lifted my gouge, turned it, pivoted, and took out kind of just a little cylinder of material. Now I'm using, you can see there, that's about a number 11, probably about a quarter inch or something like that. That makes it easy to go in, turn, and take that material out. And the reason that's important is that we want to go in there and go deep right there, because when we carve an eye, we're going to round from the outside of the eye to that inside of the eye. We want that to be deeper than the middle of the eye, so that when we look at it from the side, we don't see the inside corner of the eye. So this whole part of the eye is rounded this way, and that's why we've got to recess that deep. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Start out here above the wing, up at about a 20-degree angle, going right up that nose into that eye socket, lifting the gouge, pivoting it around, taking out that chunk of wood. Clean it up a little bit. So we got something that looks like that now. All right, so he's kind of got a very pointed nose right now. Let's just clean that up just a little bit. Let's just take a little bit of wood off that tip, round it over, so that we ended up with not quite a bird's beak at the tip. And this is where, let's go ahead and I'm going to take a little bit more material out here off back by the wings. We're going to cut in the bottom of the nostrils at an angle, so that we leave that septum, the piece of cartilage right in the middle, exposed, just a knife cut. I'm just going to go back in there, put a little bit of an angle on each side of the nose where the nostrils are going to go. Try to make it the same left to right. Take a look at your carving, take a look at it from all angles. Take a look at it from the bottom. See that you've got still got a triangular shape going. See that left to right is pretty well symmetrical. Take a look at it from the side. Is that the profile I want? Do I want a different profile? All right, so now this gouge made a nice transition between the nose and the cheek, but we need to clean that up a little bit and get rid of that sharp edge. So let's just take a knife, kind of roll it in there, roll it right into that eye cavity. Now remember, we don't want this to go to a point, because there is still a separation between your eyes that's joined by the nose through here. So we don't want this to go completely to a point, because then your eyes are too close together. So as you come up the side, watch where you're going and don't get too aggressive. You're just trying to round it over, make a smooth transition there. Use your knife. A lot of times I will take a small gouge, if I want to, and turn it upside down and use that to help develop some roundness too. That whatever works for you. Knife works pretty well. So all we've done now is get rid of those ridges that we had, but we have got a smooth transition going in here. I'm going to take that gouge that I was using and just knock that wood back on the cheek a little bit. Just we're not worrying about it now, but it just looks better. Don't want to take too much back. We still need cheek and material for the eyes and everything like that. But it's going to help us make the nose look better. All right. So now we've got all that going in there. We need to cut our wings in. The wings are going to go here. So when you cut your wings in, I use this for character to this size. That's probably about a number 7 1/4-inch gouge, and I use it upside down. And when you come in here to cut these wings, you can lay it right in here at the bottom of the wing. And what I want you to do is go at an angle outboard. If you go in like this, wherever you start, if you go in like this, that's how big your nostril is going to be. It's not going to be any bigger. But if you go in with your gouge laid flat and an angle and go deep, I can end up with my nostril back here. I can take material off and make it shorter as I go. So we're going to lay that on the bottom of the nostril and just push that gouge in deep so that we've got it stuck in the wood there. So now I've got this nostril defined, the shape of it. I can turn that around. I can use the same gouge, come back in or behind it a little bit farther out, and come back in, and the profiles match. And I can just take out that wood right in there behind that first cut. And now I've got the nostril defined. And like I said, if that's bigger than I want it, then I can always come back in and cut it off more this way. Let's do the same thing on the other side. We're going to lay that right there on the bottom of the nostril along the wing. Gouge at a flat angle going out. Push that in. Make a good sharp deep cut. Pull it out. Take my gouge, come back in. Lay it right here. Match the profile. Do a little chip carving. And take that right out. And I've got the nostril starting to be defined. Now you can see if I look at the nose, if this is the top part of, right above my lip, from here to here is half the size of the nose, and from here to the back of the nostril is another half. So the nose is half on the face, half off the face. I may recess this a little bit more depending on where we go. So at this point, we're looking like that. We got a pretty good profile. Everything looks pretty good from the bottom. So now it's a matter of adding a little bit more definition. I'm going to use my knife to just give the wings a little bit more definition. Right now, they come in right here and all this transition. So typically, you're going to see more of a ridge right in here where your nose is before it goes in. So the wings are a little bit of a beef of material. I'm going to set that in there with just a couple knife cuts, stop cut, and then taking out some of that material and swinging it down toward the tip of the nose. Making a little stop cut. I can do this with a gouge too, I'll show you that. If I wanted to do that, I would come in here right above the wing with a very small U-gouge and just start taking some of that material off. Come right in here. Right, finishing up right there above the wing. I'm going to clean up that cut right in there with my knife. It was made with the gouge, if you remember. So now I've got, you know, a wing defined here, but I've got a big transition there. We're going to just smooth that out. Take that back into the nose. Switching between, you know, gouges and knives, whatever works best for the challenge at hand. But transitioning that nose into the face. Back just to clean that up a little bit, add a little more definition. I guess when I look at that, I think it looks a little bit too flat right in here. You know, just look at your nose, see what you want to do. Tip of the nose is typically a little ball, and then I would round over these edges right here at the bottom of the nose so they're not quite so sharp. But starting to get not a bad profile. Pretty symmetrical left to right. Got a trough up there where the eyes are going to go. All right, so what I want to do next is add a little bit of shadow here right at the corners of the nose. So we're going to take our knife. We're going to start above the wing. I'm going to start above the wing, straight in. I'm going to come straight in and around the side of the wing and go underneath the nose. So starting above the wing, straight in, around, straight in to make a good deep shadow cut, just the tip of the knife. Now we're going to define, they're either called laugh lines or smile lines, but everybody has these. Whenever you smile, they're more prominent. It's hard to see so much on a person with a mustache and all, but so the next thing we're going to put in are these smile lines or laugh lines, and they start right above the wing of your nose and they swing down and they go out to the corner of your mouth. So, and they're there in everybody. They're even more prominent whenever somebody smiles or you know, kind of squint or that type of expression. So we made this first cut where we started at the top of the wing, we went around the wing on the nostril, and we came straight in underneath the nose, and we went in, I don't know, 1/4 inch or something like that. Now we're going to define that lifeline. Once again, it's starting up there at the top of the wing, it's coming down, and we're going to define an imaginary mouth. The mouth is about 2 eyes wide. So here, and if that's my eye and here's my eye, the mouth goes from the center of that eye to the center of that eye. So the mouth is somewhere down in here. We're going to make this cut. We're going to come around that wing and we're going to go out, and sometimes they will come back in, sometimes they just go straight. We've got that deep cut. We've got this one that swings around the nostril. We're going to take out that little wedge right in there. If you didn't get it all in one, make another cut. But that's going to give us a really good shadow around that side of the nose. See the difference between this side, no shadow. Here, we got a good shadow. Let's do the same thing with the other side. We're going to start here above the nose, at the wing, straight in, around the side, straight in, underneath the nose, going in, you know, about 1/4 inch. And you may want to sketch in your lifelines. You want to try to make them symmetrical. So we just sketched that in. Starting now above the wing, coming out, we're going to come down, and then I'm going to make a little cut back toward the mouth. Then I'm going to take out this little wedge that goes between that cut and the lifeline. We should just come in here and be able to pop that out. If it doesn't come, don't pry. Make a secondary cut. You can just take out that little wedge. And clean it up as needed. Round up if you need to. Get as much shadow as you want. Once again, that helps put your face, or put your nose half on the face, half off the face. And you're still just a little bit too peaky. Round as you like. If you don't like the shape of the nose, give him another look. And then if you're gonna have a beard, you're probably gonna, or mustache, that's gonna be set in there a little bit deeper. I think you got a nose. Well, we don't have a nose. This guy, he can't breathe yet. We got to put nostrils in this guy. All right, we still got it recording?
Yep.
All right.
You're still going.
Nostrils will make your nose. So let's talk a little bit about how we're going to cut those in. We shape. I'm going to give a different shape to each side of this nose. So we shaped the bottom of the nose right now with just a knife cut, so that we came in there sharp. If I take my gouge and I use it to shape the bottom of the nose, and I just start here close to the septum, and I leave, I don't go clear to the edge, I leave some space. But I make a cut into the bottom of the nose, and if it doesn't come out, you just take your knife, undercut those and pop them out. Clean that cut up. To me, this gives a totally different look to your carving. I either have a straight cut on the bottom of the nose, or I can come back and use my gouge and give that just a little bit of a sweep on the bottom. And so it's a totally different look, in my opinion, and one you might want to try on some of your carvings and see which one you like. Either way, you're still going to be able to see this septum. Leave that piece of cartilage in there so that you see it from the side, no matter how you shape your nose. But once you got that, then you can go in with an even smaller gouge and make that a little bit deeper in the middle there. If you want to give an extra shadow so that you've got indication of a nostril up in there, you'll want to do the same thing on this side. If you don't want to use your gouge, you can use your knife. Simple triangular cut. Cut, cut. Another cut. Maybe some more to make sure you get them all out. Just so you leave the wing of the nose on there. Don't pry with your knife blade, but you can pick them out. And then you might want to round that up a little bit, but you can do these cuts with your knife, you can do them with a gouge. But if you leave that shadow in there, that makes a difference too on the nose. You'll want to be able to have a shadow for a nostril. And then you come back and round these wings up. Right now, these are kind of flat. I would just shave a little bit of material off those to give a roundness to each of the wings. They were really just the flats of the stick. Once again, I can go back to this gouge that I used to cut that wing in, and I can use that to give a roundness. I'm just using that gouge upside down here, just using it to shave off the flats, kind of just swinging it around in a little bit of a circle, but it does a real good job in getting rid of the flat spots. I got some fuzzies in there, but we cleaned those up too. So, kind of a straight bottom on the nose, a little bit of a hook put in there with the gouge. Got nostrils cut in, got a profile from the side, got a width comparable to what we want the eyes. This is a little bit wider, but you know, if the eyes were here and here, a little bit wide for this stick to make a face, but it works well. The eyes would be right up here as the center of them. So the center of my eye would be somewhere about here and here. So then we would cut in the rest of the eye socket and finish the face.